What's up, everyone? It's Jason Wojo. I'm here for the Life and Air Show. On the Life and Air Show, we help people make more, work less, and create lives and businesses they love. And I'm joined by my co-host, Polish Peter.
What's up, dude?
How's it going, man?
I'm doing great, man. I'm excited about this episode because we finally find out what kind of an animal you are.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I'm so jealous that you thought of that first. Like, I really should have thrown that out there, but I was trying to be nice. That's the only reason why I didn't.
Sure,
so you know.
That's right.
Just so you know.
You can't think on your toes, so this is your default that you go to, like trying to be nice. Okay.
Yeah, hey, man, you know what? Niceness is being rewarded. Right. Well, and so what Peter's alluding to is we are interviewing our good friend, JP Moses. And so JP is a super smart guy, very successful, and quite frankly, that's my favorite feature of JP is he's just a great person. He's genuinely one of the nicest people I know. Mm-hmm. And he just cares about people, and he's just a fantastic guy, and he pours that into his business, and that's why I have no doubt that has contributed to his success as well over the years. And so JP and his business, Awesome REI, have really I've been following them for a while, Peter, and he's just had incredible growth. Like, I mean, not only in revenue, but at every metric, and it's just going so well. I'm like, hey man, we got to get you on the show and find out more about what you're doing.
Yeah, so this particular episode is really good for someone who is an entrepreneur, is looking to scale his company or grow a company in some shape or form. And he mentions a specific book on this show, and he mentions a specific principle that has to do with the animal, right? But when you listen, I've read this book myself. It's a great book. And if you just take that principle, what he just talks about on this particular episode, I think you're going to be a lot more successful in your business than you would otherwise. And I think, now that I think about it, in a way, when I coach people, we apply this in coaching as well. So yeah. I'm excited about this episode because of the fact that how he points it out, and when it comes to building a company, putting your team together and those kinds of things, and how do you actually put them together, and how you talk to them, and then what kind of qualities you need to look for when it comes to building that company.
Let's jump in right now to our interview with John Paul Moses. Here we go. This is an honor to have you on the show, dude. It's so for those of you who don't know JP, one of the coolest, nicest, smartest guys you will ever meet. He's just a fantastic guy. I have the privilege of meeting him through Life and Air many years ago. Gosh, man, I've known you for a while now, probably 10 years.
He's like Yoda.
Yeah, he is kind of like a little Yoda. He is, and so this is gonna be a great episode. We're gonna kind of talk with JP about his business specifically. And one of the things that I've had the privilege of getting to know JP and see his progress over the past, gosh, JP, would you say that like it's been the really past year or two that you've just experienced, exponential growth in your business?
Yeah. Starting, I would say in 2019, well, probably late 2018, we really learned some valuable lessons and focused on some key areas, and it really made our trajectory just spike up, and it has been on an upward trajectory ever since then. And so, yeah, I think that'll be an interesting conversation.
And the thing, man, like, listen, like, I am not I'm not a big fan of like the whole 10X movement and like just like this hype, right? Of like just building your business, and especially when it's coming from people that really aren't doing it. But you guys, like, it's just been it's amazing. To witness this has been just amazing. And you're doing some things clearly, and you've identified some things that have allowed you to kind of take this new trajectory and really you guys are just on fire right now. And there's really no foreseeable end to this, unless you guys decide to scale back or to whatever you guys decide to do. It's all up to you now. So like, let's start diving in a little bit. What is your business, first of all? Let's give our listeners some context.
Okay. Awesome REI is the name of our company, which REI, real estate investing. And so our website's awesomerei.com. And basically we're an online publishing company. We create programs and content and training material for real estate investors. As you know, I've got a history of many moons as a real estate investor, and Patrick, my partner in crime there, also does, Patrick Riddle. And our business has we first got first started working together, I guess you could say, in 2012, and our business has taken a lot of shapes and forms and twists and turns since then. But it's got a really good, solid shape today, and things seem to be firing on all cylinders.
So is it, I don't know, I don't want to get you in trouble for saying this, but is it fair to say that you guys do a lot of the content for people or the gurus that other people think write their content?
No, actually, that's not the case.
It is not. At one point, you're doing that.
Yeah, that was another company that I owned previously.
Okay. Dude, I can't keep track. You're like a
Hey,
wizard.
don't listen
of
to
content.
Voyager, just listen to JP, okay?
Oh, clear. Okay. Yeah.
So I owned another company that was kind of like the Wizard of Oz, man behind the curtain for a lot of real estate thought leaders, the guys that if I drop names that people would probably recognize. So we would be not the ones who were in the spotlight, but helping them basically share their content more effectively with their audience, both their paid members of their programs and the public in terms of blog posts and things like that. So that was really where I think I, for years and years, cut my chops in that and built a whole company around it where people were doing all the things. That was the first legit business that I ever built, actually. But we closed the chapter on that company in at the end of 2018. And
okay.
I'm sorry, is that right? Yeah, end of 2018. So since 2019 up until the present, I've only been focused on Awesome RAI. Done a little bit of land investing on the side, but nothing big.
Okay, got it. So tell us. So you have this company, and the initiative of this company and the directive was to just provide content for who?
Awesome RAI currently, you mean?
Yep.
In the publishing company, what exactly do you guys do?
Yeah.
Good question. Basically, we create training programs for real estate investors that are 99% online. Every once in a while, all of our programs have a small physical component for those who decide to upgrade to it. It's a printed book of the executive summary of the program. It's an order bump is what we call it. But that's literally the only physical piece of the puzzle at all, and it's optional. So everything's in a members area inside our website, and we leveraged our history in the real estate investing space first and foremost to try and create high-value training programs for real estate investors, and had a limited amount of success with that. But what we really realized that we're good at through a series of twists and turns over many, many years is creating lower priced front end programs. We're not the ones creating the higher priced coaching programs or webinar offers. And I'm not diminishing those. Those are if they're good programs, they're worth their weight in gold. But we don't specialize in creating those. We specialize in creating these lower priced $100 or so front-end programs, along with the people who do create these big back-end offers, like the big coaching program or the webinar offer. So we collaborate with them, joint venture basically, in creating a front-end program for them. And as a part of the process of going through that program that we create, the people who are a great fit to ascend to the back end with our partner emerge, and they're primed, and they develop a connection and a relationship with the guru on the other side. And when they come out the other side, they're like, man, if I learned that much from Joe McCall, for example, then I got to learn more from him. How can I learn more from him? Well, I can pay a few dollars more and get coached by Joe's team. So we're basically a customer engine. I'm using Joe McCall already as an example, so I'll just keep using him as an example. We're giving Joe McCall access to an audience of people that he doesn't yet have a connection with, and who aren't yet willing to pull out their credit card and pay big dollars for Joe's stuff because they don't really believe in Joe and they don't really know Joe. So we give them a lower risk way to get familiar with Joe, to get high value from him, and then to ascend to his back end if they're a good fit. Does that make sense? It's kind of a concise summary.
Yeah. Yep. Totally, man. And so a lot of your business, I guess, has been around finding people or partnering with people and networking with people that have those kind of offers that you believe have quality trainings and who have all the kind of like the core values that you guys have?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to work really hard to find those people because we've, I guess, gotten the attention of the industry, and so people want to work with us, and so we have more people who want to work with us than we can work with. It's really about filtering the people who want to work with us, because most people don't in the internet world of real estate investing training. They don't know how to get that lower priced offer that really works, that delivers a high value, that brings these buyers out of the ether that are just primed and ready to ascend to their big pricier back end offers. And so we have kind of a unique engine. It's not magic. We just have the right people in the right seats on the bus who focus on their strengths and their own unique geniuses, and that makes the magic happen. And so we're uniquely good at that, I guess. That's one of the things I think we've really taken away from the last couple of years is focusing on understanding this unique strength that we have, and then really doubling down and focusing on it has really been a big win for us.
So you kind of lead into, you mentioned the seats in the bus and things like that. Let's kind of talk about, so I think our listeners probably have an idea of like what you do. How did you get so good at it, and what are some of the lessons you've learned here over the last couple of years as your trajectory has just exploded?
Well, in terms of how we got so good at it, I think there's well, where do you want me to start with that? What's the first question you want me to answer?
What was the first thing that got you on the trajectory you're on now?
Okay. First, let me just say, I feel way too serious in answering these questions. So anybody who doesn't know me needs to know right out of the gate that I'm very low on the serious scale. As you can probably tell from the playful items behind me, the decorations in my room. And so I just want to make sure that anyone who doesn't know me well doesn't mistake me for a real serious dude.
Yeah, man, you're sounding super serious right now. Maybe I gotta playfully ask the questions a little more.
Yeah. There's a reason why I said Yoda. I mean, look at the glasses and everything. He's like a professor, man. Go ahead, professor. Continue.
Well, I think we kind of, there was a certain amount of trial and error in us getting good at what we do, but also a certain amount of just kind of accidental ingredients. It's like if you were, just in a kitchen and you look at the ingredients in the fridge of leftovers and this and that, and you combine some things and you're like, wow, that's some really good stuff I just made. I must be Bobby Flay. Or you just kind of accidentally discovered something awesome, and good luck doing it again the next time if you don't have the same ingredients. I think that I'm not diminishing what I think is a unique strength that we have, but I think it was kind of an accidental event that happened. I mean, there were some smart choices that were made along the way, sure, that were very intentional, but we didn't have the end vision of what we're going to be really good at in mind. We just made the best choices we could make as we were going with the information that we had. And then our unique strength kind of emerged. And as we went through, we as a team, every once in a while, we'll go through a book and just kind of camp out on it together and process it. And it was in, I think, maybe it was late 2018 when we picked Good to Great. And you've already heard me reference the seats on the bus. For anybody who's familiar with Good to Great, you know that that's a reference to that. But one of the big pieces of that puzzle for us was identifying what is our Hedgehog Principle. And as we really asked that question, what became clear to us is that we are really uniquely good at creating this thing. Let's not try to do webinar offers. Let's not try to do coaching. And we had tried to do a lot of those things and had success. It wasn't a fail, but it wasn't like a big win. But as we really focused on the thing that we seem to be uniquely good at, our Hedgehog Principle, that's what really made the first biggest difference, was our unique focus that we applied to that strength.
So for people who haven't read Good to Great yet by Jim Collins, just describe, so the Hedgehog Principle is just focusing on what you're best at? Is that the concept behind it?
Yeah, it's kind of an analogy of the fox and the hedgehog. The fox is known for being really crafty. He's out hunting the hedgehog, and he's going to try and go this direction and that direction. He's going to go high and he's going to go low. And so he's very high on his tactics and his trial and error. And he's very skilled in that arena, but the hedgehog outsmarts him every time, not because the hedgehog is so cunning or so skilled, but he can do one thing and he can do it really, really well. And that's curl up into a ball and be impenetrable. And so every single time, no matter what the fox tries, the hedgehog outsmarts him because he does that one thing that he does really, really well, and he wins the day. And so that's kind of the concept of the hedgehog principle from the book.
Okay.
And so that's asking ourselves as a company, what's the one thing that is our unique strength that we do better than anyone, or maybe most people, or that, like, if we had to do it, nothing else other than this, it would be something of high value.
So, man, as you're talking here, I'm thinking, okay, a couple things. One is it seems like business owners, to some extent, have to get going and try a bunch of different stuff to see what they're good at before they can choose what they're going to focus on. It's like you could have this vision of like, hey, I want to be the best at this one thing, but that may not happen. Like, from what I'm gathering from what you're saying, it's like, hey, you don't necessarily know perhaps what your best thing is until you do it and see the results. Is that true? Am I misinterpreting that?
I think there's a certain truth to that. It depends on the circumstances and the person, obviously, but I think that you don't know what your unique strength is or what your hedgehog principle is without a certain amount of experience and trial and error. So if you're in a new industry and you don't have any of that, then you certainly have to do some, try a little of this, try a little of that, but pay attention to the data. Consider everything an experiment, right? Not like I'm committing to do, this particular type of deal or this particular model of business because this is what works so well for other people. But I'm going to experiment with this and see if I enjoy it, if it seems to give a high value, if it delivers a lot of dollars and checks other boxes. And then I'm going to try some other things before I really know what kind of is my unique strength. So I think there is a certain amount of it. But I think you can also enter into a new industry, but have a track record in other businesses that kind of show you the things that you're good at, the kinds of things that you're good at. So you can take this whole idea of focusing on what you're good at and make it very personal as well. I know with me, it's been a really important part of my growth to understand really well the things that I'm uniquely good at and the things that I'm really not good at, and not try to focus on the things that I'm getting better at, the things that I'm not good at. Obviously, there's exceptions to that. If you're like not good at humanity, or if you're not good at being nice to people, or those are things you should work on. But right. I think in the business sense, when I personally, in my journey, and I won't go into the details, but what became clear to me in my real estate investing journey was that I really enjoy creative things. I personally found myself really gravitating towards doing the things that involve creativity, some kind of artistic sense to it, whether it was writing something or interviewing people and having a creative conversation, basically creative things. And I paid attention to that and realized, okay, as a human being, I have a strength in creative things. I gravitate towards those things, and my avoidance behavior kicks in on the other side of that when it comes to spreadsheets and mathy things. So I took that after a certain amount of experience in another industry. As that became apparent to me, I realized, okay, it would be a misuse of my personal resources as a unique person. I'm a hammer or I'm a screwdriver, but if I'm a screwdriver and I try to be a hammer, I'm not being a good steward of how I'm uniquely made. So if I can pay attention to how I'm uniquely made and lean into doing the things that I seem to be uniquely good at doing, and not try to focus so much on the things I'm not good at, that's being a good steward of how God made me to be. And so that's taken kind of that hedgehog concept and making it very personal. I kind of lost my way there, but that was, I guess, a good point.
Man, what I'm hearing is like there's really, I'm imagining like a Venn diagram here of your personal strengths and skills and having that meet with and what you're good at, and then having that overlap with the business things that you guys produce results in. And then of course the other thing that we haven't even mentioned here is, but when you're successful, you're also adding significant value to your customer and to your clients and things like that as well. So it's like this overlapping circle is what I'm envisioning here.
Yeah. I remember the point I was trying to make with all that as well. And I think it might be good to cross the finish line with it. I realized those strengths and weaknesses of mine before I was even in this industry of publishing content on the internet, but I'm bringing that trial and error that I went through to the table in this company. And I know that being the best steward of me in this role is to focus my own unique, on my own unique strengths and not on my weaknesses, and helping other people in the company as we're building this company. We have 18 people now in the company, and helping them discover, we hire people for positions, right? And there's a job description. You do your best to try and filter their application and the job description and make a match. But over and above that, there's still some work to be done to help people uncover what they are unique at and what they really enjoy, and seeing what their strengths are, what their interests are, and what the company's needs are, and where those overlap is a bit of an art and a bit of a process to it. But if you can do that, it's I think the formula for getting, to go back to good to great, the right people on the right seats on the bus.
So listen, as you're sharing this, one thing I'm in the back of my mind is like, which animal am I? But on the more serious
you're a snake, dude. You're a snake.
Okay, I don't know if I should take that as a compliment or an insult, but hey, whatever. But I think Vojo, and to your point, I think Vojo is a donkey, but who's... But anyway.
Well played.
That's right. So listen, one thing that I heard is that first thing you guys figured out, what is our hedgehog for the company, the hedgehog principle for the company. And as you've discovered that, am I right to assume that after you've done this, you start looking, okay, in order for that hedgehog principle to come to fruition, to be successful, what are the people that are going to have to be around there, and what are their hedgehog, quote unquote, principles that are going to be put in place to be able to do that? Do you guys actually go through that kind of a mapping process and figuring this thing out, or does it just came in kind of naturally?
Patrick and I think, simultaneously came to the awareness, and Tim, I would add Tim to this, he's our CFO. The three of us kind of simultaneously came to the realization of our company's hedgehog principle. But I don't think, at least I'm not aware of anybody else but me working on an individual level, helping people discover that. But that's part of my big role. I mean, I'm obviously interested in this, and that's me focusing on my own unique strength in the company, is helping people find their unique strengths in the company. So
how do you do that?
I have a lot of conversations. I ask a lot of questions. I tend to be better than most people at asking questions, and as I hire people in our company and get to know them, I'll ask them questions like, what do you like most about what you do? After they've done it for a certain amount of time. What do you like, if you could pick one thing and never do it again as part of what you do, what would that thing be? But then I ask the question under that, why? Well, help me understand. What is it? Why do you think that you love talking to people so much? This is with a support person, Jaracel. Why do you think you enjoy so much of all the things you do in your job, the save sale conversations? There's a lot of people who the last thing they want to do is have a conversation with somebody, a disgruntled customer on the phone who's trying to get a refund and trying to convince them not to get a refund and save the sale, which is a big important part of the support department's role. A lot of people just throw up in their mouth a little bit when they even think about doing that. Jaracel loves it. Like, she really finds it a life-giving exercise. And so me asking her what she loves, what she doesn't like, and why, and kind of peeling that onion a little bit, helped me realize she's got a real, not just a unique strength in how she connects with people as she's talking to them, but she's got a real, she finds it very rewarding I can see from asking her these questions, to help people see something in what they've purchased that they may be overlooked. And that really scratches an itch for her, kind of a significance itch. And so being the best steward of Jaracell is helping her spend as much time as she can in this highly rewarding, highly skilled activity that does serve our company, and lessening the amount of time she spends doing email support or chat support. And so that's maybe a good specific example with a person that just through getting to know them, asking them questions, and then using the data from that question, not to say, how can I get this person who is maybe a square peg to fit into this more round hole, but how can I take this square peg and find a square hole that checks all the boxes for her, for us as well. Does that make sense?
Totally, yeah. And I think that's, good to great, I think, to a T, this book, because I think a lot of the successful companies like Apple's and Google's, I think are, without actually knowing for sure, I think they apply those principles, right? You create a team of A players to be able to help you get to what you want. And I think that's what you guys are doing. So as you guys are hiring, you're looking, okay, this is what's missing for us, right? That's strength. And now we need to go find someone who has the strength for that strength.
And me doing that with, we are a team of 18 people, our company, so it's manageable with me being the guy doing that. But it's also not scalable as we continue to grow. I can't continue that with every single person. I'm realizing that. And so a big part of, we just hired an operations director. Literally, he just started a week ago. And as long as he is a good fit and sticks with the company, one of my big rocks is to help him step into my shoes and do this alongside me with people, like understand the process that I just described for you, understand its importance and its value, do it himself alongside me, and then have him doing it as if he were me on an ongoing basis. That feels at least like the next step in trying to make it a scalable thing.
Well, it's interesting because I think when Peter mentioned A-grade players, but the term A-grade players I think really is, you have to qualify that, because depending on the specific niche that they're working in, depending on their strength or their skill, like people just aren't A-grade players across the board. They're very segmented in their particular interests or their skills, and so finding somebody that's unique. So that seat, it's like, there's a seat on a bus, but there's also like a molded seat, right? That fits them perfectly. Like, when you do those molds when you're a kid of your hand or something, and that's the seat that you're filling with this person. And those people, I think, oftentimes know when somebody else shares that same passion and same skill set. So sometimes those people are even very beneficial in helping you screen out the new people too, because they know what it takes. They know they have a connection, a kinship with the kind of person that has that same skill set. And so for you, it sounds like you've done a phenomenal job of really finding people that enjoy what they do. And of course, as you enjoy something, you're better at it. Like, it's a natural cycle. Like, I talk a lot about guitar. Like, well, I love playing guitar, and so naturally, just the more time I've spent with it, the better I get. It just creates a positive feedback loop. I think it's the same thing for all these other skills in our businesses.
Yeah, I think when I'm hiring somebody new, it starts at a base level of, do they check the minimum boxes of availability and pay scale and skill set and experience. But over and above that, I don't imagine that I'm going right out of the gate for somebody who is an A player. I want to cultivate an A player, but at the very minimum, over and above kind of the minimum criteria, they need to pass my sniff test that they're the right kind of human to be a fit for our culture, for the other humans they're going to be with. And I've made mistakes with that in the past. I don't have a perfect record, and I've learned from those mistakes. I've been grateful to have failed forward from people who no longer work with us, and realize the difference between somebody who I should have known shouldn't have passed my sniff test versus those that do. But if they have kind of a core humanity that has values that are at least in the same arena and congruent, then they're moldable and shapeable into A players. And that excites me, to be able to take someone and bring them into the company and see them become a much better version of themselves, and find what they're doing with us really rewarding, other than just monetarily. That's fun to me.
So it sounds like you have part of your seat is that you enjoy is kind of the mentorship component of it as well, and developing people.
I never thought of it that way, but I guess so. I don't have regular routine meetings with everybody necessarily. With the higher level people I do meet with on a regular basis. Well, I take that back. Our whole company has a meeting every single week over Zoom. We've been doing that for years. And I make sure that in that meeting, every single time we start off with everybody on the team sharing a success of the week before. And it could be a works related success or a personal success, just a win, something they're really grateful for. But I want to hear something of the humanity of every single person in a positive way to set the energy for each week's meeting. And so I guess I do have a chance, even if it's not a one-on-one, I have a chance to make a personal connection with everybody in the company so far. Again, that's not probably scalable for the long term, but it's working great right now.
Yeah. Well, when we had our meetings, we did the same thing, right? We'd go around the horn and we'd discuss that. And I think that adds a lot to the culture of the company. It lets those people know that you actually care about them as people. Mm-hmm. They're not just a cog in your wheel of your business. So we talked about the Hedgehog Principle. We talked about how that overlaps with your personal and the business Hedgehog. We talked about people and hiring people for the right seats. What are some of the other things that you've had, give you an epiphany, or changes you've made or realizations that you feel like have contributed to your success? Or did we cover them all?
I think there have been things that we aren't aware of yet that have contributed to our success. But I think to summarize what I think is responsible that I'm aware of right now, I think our ability to see and understand a unique strength that we have and how well it matches with a gap in our market. Because the reality is there's not really anyone that I'm aware of in our particular space of digital marketing who is as capable as we are at doing what we do. And I say that and it sounds really prideful, but I mean, it's true.
Especially coming from you, I know. There's the least prideful people I know in the world. The other thing that I heard is focus. I
think that's a huge rock for us is focus. There's Bruce Lee, I think, said the successful warrior is the average man with laser-like focus. And I just know that I know. I used to have a whiteboard behind me that had a quote from somebody, I don't remember who it was, but I memorized the quote. Extraordinary results are directly determined by how well you focus and what you choose to focus on. And just taking that years ago as a core value of mine and literally reading it to myself on a regular basis, I feel like as a byproduct of that, as a byproduct of my focus, the thing I focus on has expanded, I think, into our company and into our culture. So maybe it was Bruce Lee was the origin of that as a core value. I don't know, but thanks, Bruce Lee. High five to you. Boom.
Right on. Well, I didn't think I was Bruce Lee, but hey, high five back to you. All right. I know that the key to our success, or at least a big key to our success, is focusing intentionally our conscious efforts on the things that we do well, and focusing on fewer better things rather than trying to go and do all the things that might work. You've heard me say it a lot over the years. Finding the one thing that we want to focus on does require a little trial and error, but once you find it, then you go an inch wide and a mile deep on the one thing rather than a mile wide and an inch deep on all the things.
You know,
do you guys find yourself saying a lot of no?
Saying what? I'm sorry, I couldn't tell because of your accent.
A lot of no's because of that focus. What were you making fun of?
There's a transcript in the back.
I was waiting for that word. Good job. Where you go? High five. Yes, there is.
A lot of no's, specifically in what way, though, is your question?
Well,
we have a lot of people who want to work
right?
with us who we say no to because they're not the right kind of people, that we don't feel like they're going to be a good fit for us for various reasons. When we're hiring people, we do have a lot of no's that we say, and typically I want to have a process that filters out those people before I have a conversation with them, and I'm the one that has to say, based on my conversation, it's no. And I think I've got that process down pretty good with our support team, but everybody else is a bit of a process in the works. But I think we do end up saying no a lot because of it. Yeah.
I think that's an important aspect of the success, you know what I mean? Because once you figure out your hedgehog and you're focusing, and especially when you start being more successful, right, in a company, a lot more opportunities start coming up, right? A lot more people find out more about you and hear about you, and it sometimes becomes so easy to say yes. Right. So,
well, I mean, it's the whole life and air vision idea, right? You focus on your vision versus chasing whatever smells like opportunity or seems like an exciting, interesting thing at the time. But the more capable you are at that laser focus on what you've identified is what really matters, the more successful you'll be in accelerating, getting from here to there.
Well, and so two things I want to mention here, JP, is one, saying no to all. So if you got this laser beam focus that's like, 10 micrometers wide, and everything outside of that you have to say no to. And so you have people that I'm sure would say, hey, you guys are really good at this. Have you thought about that? Or could you do this for me or that for me? And you have to say no to that. But two things that really strike me in terms of this being a struggle for entrepreneurs is, one, I think a lot of entrepreneurs are drawn to the shiny objects. They love the entrepreneurial process of chasing different things and the challenge of the chase kind of whole thing. And then along with that is the fear of focusing on something that is so specialized. Like, what if the market is disrupted? What if my, this industry or this niche or this one specific thing were to go away tomorrow or whatever? I think those are two things that I think entrepreneurs might struggle with. Can you comment on that at all, or has that been your experience at all?
To your first question about people who are kind of hardwired entrepreneurs having a propensity to chase what seems new and interesting, is that basically a way to reflect it? I think that is what it is, but we all have flaws and we have to work to overcome those flaws. And so I think realizing that it's basically trying to do lots of different things for most people. I mean, there may be the exceptions who have great success doing lots of things. Maybe the guys on Shark Tank or something. They probably have their own stories that don't make the camera, right? But I think that trying to do lots of things simultaneously is it's obviously another form of multitasking, and multitasking works, and it feels highly productive, but it doesn't work the way you think it does. I think it's really a myth that it accelerates your progress. I think single tasking is a superpower. It may be hard to believe if you are used to doing all the things and trying all the things and chasing all the diamonds in the sky. But if you've never tried single tasking and focusing on something that you're uniquely good at and strong at and interested in, then you can't really compare it. I have tried both, and I can say from my own story that it's been a pedal to the metal accelerator for me to focus rather than trying to do lots of things, even though I still have that, that seems interesting. I want to try that. I mean, I told you I've done a little land investing. That was one of the bright, shiny objects for me just within the last year and a half. I'm not saying I'll never go back to land investing. I might need another bright, shiny object to scratch that itch at some point soon. But it definitely, the time and attention I put into that, there's only 24 hours in a day, and an hour I spend on this is an hour I can't spend on that. We all know that, right? And you filter that through Life and Air Vision, then you have even fewer hours to apply to worky things. And so when you have a handful of hours to apply to worky things, you better focus those things where it really matters, rather than spreading it out and diversifying your focus and your energy, I think.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'd agree with that, man. And along those lines, how does somebody, you mentioned earlier about experimentation and trying different things and finding what works and then focusing on that one thing. Do you guys still experiment with new things now, or have you settled into what you do? And like, how do you know, like I can see someone saying like, well, gosh, like what if I try this new thing? What if it's better? And what if I'm not pursuing this because I'm focused here? Is there still an experimentation that always needs to go on, or should people kind of settle in once they found that success? Or, you know what I mean? Like, is it a constant evolution?
That's a good question. I think that we've never really talked about that. So I can speak for myself, and I think I can speak for those of us who are running the company. I think that we are open to experimentation on things, but not based on a what if, because a what if is really underneath that is fear. You're afraid of missing out. And I think any choice you make based on fear is the wrong choice, right? I think that's a Steve Cook quote. So saying what if, recognizing that what if is what's fueling my interest in this thing, I think makes it a deal killer for me personally. And I would heavily try to influence others to see it that way as well, because if I let a what if distract me from a should based on what I know, then that's just, it's a dumb move, really.
Yep. Well, and it sounds like you can make a difference between a tactical and a strategic what if. So like, for instance, if you're mining for gold in a certain mine, you could probably ask a question like, hey, is there a better way, or more effective, more efficient way for us to mine the gold versus going off and starting a new mine or something like that? Like you're going to take what you're doing currently and look for ways to improve it, look for ways to become better at it. And maybe that's the experimentation. Maybe that's the version of what we're doing now. Your experimentation early on in your business might be something much more broad and non-specific as you're finding that hedgehog. But as you kind of have that hedgehog, now you're like, okay, here's where we are. Let's now, within the realm of what we're trying to accomplish, we know what our goal is, start to experiment within those boundaries to help us get better at what we already do.
Yeah, I think I'm not against experimenting with new things, or okay. I'm not avoiding opportunity is not a goal of mine. I think that approaching anything like that, any ideas you want to try in a compartmentalized way, and saying, all right, how can I experiment with this in a way that really minimizes and the negative impact on what is our hedgehog or what's really working well, and protects it. So if you can segment it off and have a defined experiment, okay, these resources will be part of the experiment, and this timeline, every experiment has a finish line, and you don't define the success of an experiment with a specific outcome. It's like, okay, let's take the next 30 days, let's try this. We're really good at direct mail. I'm just riffing here. We're really, really good at direct mail. Rather than take our direct mail efforts and reallocate it to bandit signs, let's do a 30-day experiment on bandit signs. That wouldn't work because bandit signs wouldn't make sense for just 30 days. But anyway, let's do it. Let's set a finish line. And then at the end of that finish line, let's see the data and see how we feel about it. And what does it tell us? Does it tell us that we need to in some way reallocate some of these resources here? Or is it proof that we shouldn't do any more of this? Or is there something else that we can pull from that data? I think treating anything new, rather than it being a bright, shiny object that distracts you and diverts you, treating it as an experiment that's clearly defined and segmented and has a finish line, that's the safest way, I think, and the only way that we would, I think, do anything other than what we're really good at right now.
Got it.
Does that make sense the way I explained it? I'm not really sure if I got too heady on that or not.
No, I got it. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Well, hey man, we're about out of time here. I wanted to, is there anything else you can think of that we didn't discuss that came to you? But I mean, we covered a lot. We talked about Hedgehog, the right seats, screening people, developing people, focus. Like these are all important lessons for everybody looking to succeed in business. I think, is there anything else we missed?
How many IRS agents does it take to screw in a light bulb?
Is this going to get us audited if I answer?
It only takes one, but it really gets screwed. But I couldn't let us go without a joke.
Right. Well, dude, this has been awesome. I think our audience is absolutely going to love this and get a lot from it. This is one of the things I think. So for those of you who could tell, like JP is a fantastic communicator and a deep thinker, and he just drops these nuggets of wisdom that sometimes it takes time to sink in, and like you realize how profound it is. So I'm extremely grateful for you dropping those nuggets within this podcast episode, man. And so how do people find out more if they want to kind of see what you do? Is just head over to awesomerei.com. Is that the best place to find you?
Yeah, you can just awesomerei.com. You can read some things. There's lots of emojis and animated GIFs, and I like to add lots of fun and flavor to anything I do. And so that's kind of my playground, and it also happens to be where we make money.
Hey, that's a nice overlap.
That is the secret. It's the emojis and GIFs.
Yes.
Why didn't you say that at the beginning of the show?
Well, that's why we have Peter on the show. It's comic relief.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for being on here, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate being in. It's a turn of the tables for me to be in the hot seat.
I know, right?
I'm usually the one doing the interviews, but it's been fun. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, dude. See ya. Dude, you are a donkey. I don't care what you say. Like that was, I mean.
Look how quickly you jumped on this. Like the first thing that came out from the takeaways at the end.
That's what I get.
Too late, man. Everybody already knows you're a donkey, and that's all good, man.
Well, listen, man. Hedgehog Principle. What an interesting analogy. What an interesting metaphor story. Like, you got a fox who everybody thinks is pretty smart, but he just has too many things going on. He's chasing his own tail. He's running around like a crazy person. And yet the hedgehog has this one thing, and he's really good at it. And he just goes to that, by habit and by, default. And so that's what's worked for him. And so JP talked about focus a lot. That's a challenge I think a lot of people have. Like, I know I have that. There's just so many moving parts. And by the way, it doesn't just apply to your business niche, right? It applies to what you do in your business. We didn't even talk about that. But, he alluded to that these 18 different people that work for him, I would venture to say that they all have very specialized roles, and they're not doing everything, because that's another thing. You have people in a company that they're doing everything. They're wearing all the hats. They're the circus, they're the conductor of the circus, and they're the animal, they're the clown, they're the trapeze artist. They're doing it all. And that focus just results in inefficiencies and ineffectiveness.
Yeah, and I think there was a great example when he used about the one specific employee, the customer service employee, right? When he was telling how that person loves doing that, but she's not, I don't know if it's a she or he, but
it was a she.
It was a she, so not doing that. And I think the way I'm seeing it, this when they're putting this company together, is they apply the Hedgehog Principle not only to the company as a whole, but to each individual employee.
Right, you got like a daddy hedgehog, which is a company, and then all the little baby hedgehogs, and family hedgehogs.
So the only problem is all the hedgehogs get in the ball, and that's what they steal. That's the problem, right? If you just get into the ball. But no, on the serious side of things, I think that works tremendously to be able to do that, because he's a prime example. That company is a prime example of how it works, and I'm, have friends in that industry, and he's not lying when he's saying they are very successful right now, because I know a lot of people who are looking to work with them, and they're very specific. It's
they know what they're good at. They focus on what they're good at. All of their efforts, whether it's employment, whether it's initiatives, whether it's projects, they're all focused around what they're good at. But also, we didn't even talk about this at all, man. I think one of the other things that he didn't say that has attributed to his success, or contributed, I should say, is that he's just he's somebody who's easy to work with. He's trustworthy. He's reliable. He has integrity. He's built a reputation for himself. And so this is something that he's built a reputation for himself as a person. He mentions the humanity a couple times, right, on this, but also he's built a reputation on his skills as a contractor, as a vendor, whatever position he's having with people. And so you got to think of this: when somebody's hiring you, they're looking at you, the person, as well as your competency. You know, they're looking at your character as well as your competency. And so that's one thing that I think has also contributed to his success. He's just a great guy to work with. And so when you combine that incredible focus, a real skill set that's completely orbits around what you're best at, with that character, like, it's a hard combo to beat.
Yeah. So listen, my challenge to you listeners here, and I don't know what part of your business or what kind of business you have, or entrepreneur or whatever it might be, start looking for what could be my hedgehog principle. What is it for me that I'm really good at? And then start looking for what's the one thing that I can start implementing this in to be able to get me out of the stuff that I hate doing. Because especially like entrepreneurs, when they're first starting out, there's a bunch of stuff that they're doing that they hate doing. You know, prime example, some people who hate numbers, and they're doing their own books. They're doing their own accounting and all that kind of stuff, right? So start implementing this, because I think when you start doing that, you're going to be able to be a lot more successful in life and get closer to that stage 4 as on the life on their stages there.
Right. Well, and to your point, man, one thing I heard as well is, like JP mentioned, you know, you have your personal kind of hedgehog principle as well as a business. Combine what you're good at with a need in the industry. Like JP mentioned, that nobody really is as good as him at this. And so he's matched what he's good at personally, as well as a business, as well as the need for this service. And when you have those all together, an incredible thing happens. And as you're seeing it here with JP's business, like, you know, it's awesome. So listen, I hope you have loved this episode. I hope you got a lot out of it. If you want to leave us a review, we would love that. If you want to tell all your friends, family, neighbors, and coworkers about this, please do. The more, the merrier. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, head over to the Life in Air app. We promote this week after week because it's a free place. It's a free forum for all of us to get together, discuss every and anything Life in Air, get to know each other a little more, brainstorm, ask questions, get feedback, support, encouragement, everything you need along your journey as being a Life in Air. Thank you for listening. We are humbled. So get out there, be a hedgehog, focus, and incredible things will happen. We'll catch you next time, everyone.